Well, hello. This is Jomo Johnson, and this is BLM Savannah's new podcast. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. We're going to be releasing these hopefully Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We'll be having different people who will be talking and doing different topics, and I'll be doing the first one. So thanks again for taking the time to listen, all the followers, supporters, friends, fans of BLM Savannah. We're seeking to really take ground in Savannah and beyond, and really seeking to be an active voice for change, communication, and also progress as we seek to advocate for Black lives, minority lives, LGBT lives. So thank you again. First and foremost, this is a season in which we are experiencing more and more intense hurricanes. Savannah is currently under evacuation. And so we just want to say, if you are in Savannah, if you are listening to this, we just want to encourage you. If you have not yet already, if it's still possible, please take the time to evacuate the city. If you're not able to evacuate the city, make sure you are in a shelter in a place that is secure, a place that you have electricity, power, food, non-perishable goods that you just in case things go bad, are able to really take care of yourself and your family during that time period. Again, Savannah is under evacuation. We're hoping that things won't be as bad as Hurricane Matthew, but we always need to be prepared. And also, we need to take time just to pray for those in Florida who really right now and probably tomorrow will be getting hit with a bulk of Hurricane Irma. And we shouldn't forget about the victims in Texas who experienced Hurricane Harvey and are still rebuilding their lives, their homes, based upon the loss that they experienced. And I hate to say, many of you don't know there's another hurricane that's supposedly coming after Hurricane Irma. I don't remember the name of the hurricane. I think it starts with the J, if I'm not mistaken. But we need to just be mindful of this. It's a really difficult season, a really difficult time, and many people are talking about climate change, how that is affecting or creating a greater intensity of these hurricanes. I think that's something that is always should always be examined, should always be taken into account. Ultimately, we need to recognize that these things do happen, and we need to look to work together to protect ourselves and to rebuild when necessary. So again, prayers up. Hashtag prayers up. Praying for Florida, praying for those who were affected on the islands, praying for those who are in Texas. We believe that God has power to give and take away. And if he gives a storm, he can take it away. And so we just want to ask him for grace, mercy, protection, and also the grace to rebuild when necessary. So again, prayers up for all those who are affected by the hurricane victims. Well, all right. We're going to get into just some topics that have been on the news recently in Savannah. The hurricane has taken up a good portion of the news probably the last 3 or 4 days, but even beyond that, BLM Savannah has been getting some local news and local press because of some various reasons. Our Facebook page, which we didn't realize was constantly monitored by both police and media, when we began to discuss the potentiality of doing a 6-week protest. We were approached by every local news station in Savannah, WJCL, WSAV, WTOC, just from them reading our Facebook page and I guess people sharing it. They began to inquire, why we were seeking a protest, the means and the method of the protest. And so we wanted to be able to communicate to our friends, our followers, our fans, why we are seeking and considering doing this protest. And want to give you some information. If we decide to do this protest, you probably won't hear about it first. It probably will just happen. Just like soldiers who go into battle, they don't tell their enemy where they're going to be, what they're going to do, the time they're going to do it. They just do it. And so if we do commence this, it's not going to be something that we make a public announcement about. It'll be something that you just see and hear and know is going on. But really, we wanted to communicate, why we wanted to consider this with the Charlottesville tragedy, and with the death of Heather Heyer, and with the response of Donald Trump, really there's a growing consensus that enough is enough, that he is in his last days of the presidency, and his remarks that really justified the death of Heather Heyer, which is probably the most reprehensible thing he's ever said or ever done. Of all the things he said, of Donald Trump calling black people niggers and Uncle Toms, of him speaking about grabbing women's vagina, of him labeling Mexicans as rapists and criminals, and just the litany of things he's said and done since the election, I believe that the justification of the neo-Nazis, of the alt-right, in the death of Heather Heyer was probably the most despicable thing. And so at that point, there was a consideration of not just a march, because to be honest, we've marched enough. We don't want to march anymore. While that is good and necessary, we believe that there is a better action to take. And so we wanted to consider how we could sustain a protest in such a way that would get both local and national attention, and also might inspire others in other cities, other locations, to continually protest until that man is sent back to Florida, where he belongs. So that was really the motivation of that. And then we had the Savannah issues. Because we felt like Donald Trump was empowering the alt-right, the neo-Nazis, giving really a voice to those. We also wanted to be able to deal with local racism in Savannah, local issues that oftentimes we sweep under the rug. To be honest, Savannah is a nice place to live. It's a beautiful place to live. It's a historic place. There's lots of unique things about Savannah. But if we kind of lose ourselves in our comfort, we forget that there are real issues, race issues, that need to be brought up, need to be talked about, and actually need to be dealt with. And there were kind of three main issues that we brought up in some of the news interviews. And so what I wanted to do is just kind of take some time to speak on these three particular issues in Savannah, kind of show how they point to Donald Trump, and then kind of have a call to action for all of us to say all of us need to kind of get out of our own comfort zones and seek to be an advocate. And I really, want to address this to black men as well, because we are the ones that really have the most to lose when it comes to the racial issues in Savannah. And so if we don't speak up, if we don't allow our voice to be heard, then we are going to continue to be marginalized. We're going to continue to be castigated. We're going to continue to face things that we shouldn't. And so I just want to encourage my black brothers to really stand up, stand out for what is right and for what you believe in. So there were three local issues in Savannah, racial issues that we believe need to be addressed. And we felt that if we did commence with a 6-week protest, that these were the issues that we really want to bring focus on. And as you all probably know, the first issue that we talked about that has gotten the most local press and media was the issue with the county jail with Sheriff Wilcher. That county jail has had a reputation since he has been involved in law enforcement as being reprehensible, as being a place of brutality, a place of death for black men. There have been more black men who have died in that jail under his watch than the KKK has killed in the last 15 years. And so it's just really atrocious that a holding facility. And I recognize that those who are in that county jail, some of them, if not probably a majority of them, are there because of things that they have done wrong, committing crimes and breaking the law. And we do need law, and we do need order. We don't want criminals in our neighborhoods living amongst us who are actively doing wrong. But we also need to treat the prisoner, the inmate, with dignity and respect as well. Because if we lose that, we lose the very thing that makes us human, and we lose the very thing that makes us American. American motto is being based upon, treating each other equally. Now, that's not always the case, and oftentimes it's not. But the way a society treats the lowest of its citizens really creates the fabric of the character of that particular nation. So we really wanted to bring issue to the reality that why is it that black men keep dying in the jail? It's an important question. Why is it the black men? Now, we don't want any inmates to die because, we're gonna follow the mantra of our critics, all lives matter. So we don't want white inmates, Mexican inmates, any inmates to suffer unnecessarily in that particular place. But why is it that every death in that county jail, the last month, 2 months, 3 months, year, why is it always a black male? DeMilo Glover, black male. We also know about the story of Matthew Ajibide. I'm sorry, I might not be pronouncing the name right, but God knows his name, and he's in heaven now. Why was he tortured? There's so many others, and we actually released a book about the people who have suffered in that particular place. Why is it always minorities? Why is it always blacks? And I just want to quote the line from the movie. Oh my goodness! It just, I can't believe Boys in the Hood. What's wrong with me? Boys in the Hood. Either they don't know, they don't show, or they don't care what's going on in the hood. I think that is a mild condemnation of what is happening in that county jail. Not only do they don't know, they know. They know what's going on. They know what's happening. They know the brutality. They know the neglect. They know the deaths that are going on. But yet they still do nothing, which makes them complicit in the death of black men. And it's absolutely ridiculous. It's absolutely, it's sad. It's ridiculous. But this has been going on for a while. By the grace of God, technology has advanced in such a way where, we're able to capture these atrocities, these shootings on video, on camera. But, in jail facilities, oftentimes it's not captured. But it's been going on, and prisons and jails have oftentimes been the funeral homes of so many black men. We know the story of Sandra Bland as well, how they took a mugshot. It seemingly took a mugshot of a corpse. It's just so atrocious to think about some of the things that go on. And so Chatham County Jail, while jail in any city is necessary, a jail in which black men constantly die and the sheriff keeps his job, it's ridiculous. It's utterly ridiculous. And, I was thinking about how we could get to the heart of the matter and not just call on change. And I think one way we can get to the heart of the matter is by addressing the spirituality, the so-called spirituality, the so-called religion of this man, of these men who have this power and this authority. I myself am a Christian. I went to Beacon University in Columbus, Georgia, obtained my bachelor's of biblical studies, a 4-year liberal arts degree. Also went to Westminster Seminary, which is, in my opinion, the top religious seminary or school in the country. I graduated in 2014 with a Master's of Divinity degree after going there for 5 years, 101 credits, having to learn Hebrew and Greek before I was able to advance. And so I am a Christian. I have served as a pastor, a youth pastor, family, children's pastor. I've done many things in the Christian faith, and I still practice my religion. I love Jesus. He is my Lord. I have faced backlash from those in the social justice movement, those in Savannah, black nationalists who reject Christianity and therefore rejected me because of my Christianity. And so I understand Christianity and I accept it. But yet for a man who is our sheriff, who is a member of a church, who claims to be a Christian, to allow the constant death of black men. I think, your problem, Sheriff Wilcher, and if you're listening to this or if anyone is listening, his problem is not with us. His problem is that he's going to have to face God. And, the same God who you claim to worship and who you sing songs to every Sunday in your church, that same God, he says in his word that he loves the prisoner. He cares for the prisoner. And I don't see how you can claim that same God if you don't care for your prisoners and if black men constantly die. I think there's a hole in your Christianity. I think you need to repent And I think, if you do believe Jesus is Lord, I think you need to pray and ask him to forgive you and resign. Because truly, if you can't keep men alive in that particular facility, you don't deserve to be sheriff. He does not deserve to be sheriff. And I had the thought that if when Sheriff Wilcher meets God face to face and has to give an account of everything he's done, and every one of those black men who was tortured, who was beaten, who was electrocuted, who was hung, every one of those men is right there with God. What are you going to say? What are you going to say? So I think that it's important to get that thing right now, and that's kind of just from the spiritual perspective. But as a facility, we are considering filing a lawsuit against that facility. Whether it's a symbolic lawsuit or whether it's actual lawsuit. When I say symbolic, it still will be a lawsuit. How far it goes may be symbolic. We want to bring awareness to that fact and for the need for change in that particular place, the need for change in leadership. And so we are considering a myriad of different ways to bring more awareness to the conditions of the county jail. Again, jail is not meant to be a nice place. We understand that. It's not meant to be an Airbnb. It's not meant to be a pleasant place. We completely understand that. And for someone like myself who spent 3 years in prison for something that I did not do, I understand that it's not a nice place. But yet it should not be a place where men die. It should not be a place where men die. And so we want to consider ways in which we may bring awareness, protest, so that in the hopes that we might be able to save life. Now, another thing that we talked about, or that was on the local news, was the satire book post. And, I posted a video about that, kind of replying to that. And, I really personally was surprised that got so much attention. I didn't think it was controversial, really. When it was posted, I didn't think it was going to get a lot of attention. We were posting lots of different things during that time that seemed to get a lot of attention. And I think, one reason that it got attention is because white people, and oftentimes in the media, they don't realize that black people are pretty smart. They don't realize, we go to school too. We read, we study, we learn, and we understand what parody and satire is. The very thing we did is the same thing that Stephen Colbert, Bill Maher, Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Kimmel do every single night on their TV shows, which is create parody and satire. We did that. We just happened to do it to reveal a very important topic, which is the death of black men under Sheriff Wilcher in that particular facility. So that, got a lot of attention, and, oftentimes the attention is here and it goes away. So some of the attention that we got, I think I saw a story on WTOC, which I try not to read a lot of that stuff because I already know what it's going to say. But I think a story on WTOC was called Cursing the Cause. Are we actually hurting the movement? And I was thinking to myself, y'all weren't supporting the cause anyway. Y'all weren't like helping us out or trying to be in our corner or, encouraging us. WTOC has a slant toward conservatism and right-wingism. I've noticed that. And so, I have no problem with that type of stigma of cursing the cause, because according to others who are outside of our supporters, friends, and family, our cause has already been cursed. Any cause that black people fight for, according to our enemies or critics, is cursed because it's not their cause. And so that type of story doesn't faze us. One thing that did kind of get my attention was we were invited by I think it was the Black Sisterhood of Armstrong State University for like a unity march or something like that, a speech and a march. Really kind of just putting the hands together and singing Kumbaya. And to be honest, not a huge fan of those type of things because it creates a false sense of unity. It's kind of like when churches get together, like a white and black church gets together to have like a unity service after a tragic event, where they just worship and sing songs together. That looks good, but unless you are in the particular area fighting for the cause of those who are being marginalized, unless you're speaking out against injustice, it's bullshit. And so, while their invitation was